So could you just describe to me the event that we're at today?
Yes, here we are at the 25th Leeds Film Festival, and what we're showing tonight is a bunch of silent films, really, with a live musical accompaniment. So in the first half we've shown extracts of Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton and a Laurel and Hardy film, and the second half is a Harold Lloyd film, which is the one where he's hanging off the side of the building on a clock called Safety Last. And what you get when you have the combination of silent film and a live band playing is it's not like cinema. There's a live element going on, and particularly with visual silent comedy, the laughs happen sort of uninterrupted. So it just flows. So it's a very lovely experience. And for people who have not seen silent cinema in this environment, they're always knocked out by how successful it is.
And do you have you come up against any kind of common misconceptions about silent films when you've been doing this project?
Not really. I don't think so in the end. I think people, I mean, you know, perhaps the misconception for silent films is always accompanied by a honky-tonk piano going diddly-dee, diddly-dee, you know, and it was an element of that. But I think, you know, with the musicians we have on this, we have drums, we have guitar, we have bass, we have violin, we have piano. So you're getting a full range of the experience you might have had if you'd gone to see these films in the 1920s.
And what angle are you kind of approaching it from when you've been putting this together? Is it from the angle of a comedian or a fan?
I think the most important thing, first of all, is, yeah, as a comedian and as a fan, but the most important thing is that the best of these films still work in a really good way. It's not about nostalgia. It's not about, oh, isn't it nice that they used to, you know. It's about the best of these films still work very well and get an audience reaction. I mean, the audience reaction we've just had in the first half, here we are in the interval now. I mean, big laughs. I mean, if there was a modern film that got that many laughs, it would be held as a classic of the screen. So what I'm about is showing that the best of these movies, shown under the right circumstances on a big screen with a large audience, we've got 800 people here tonight, then they really do work well.
And do you see these kind of skills that these actors have and this kind of film genre, do you see that when you look around at anything that's happening today? Do you see the influences?
I think there are. I'm sure there are influences in terms of physical comedy. But I mean, with these people, particularly if you look at someone like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, they were on stage from an incredibly early age. In Buster Keaton's example, he was on stage from the age of 3. So by the time he went into films when he was 23, 24, he was so experienced that really gave him an insight into what people laughed at and how to build the laughter and how to sort of make the laughter work as effectively as possible. And these guys would make the film, show them in front of an audience, then recut the film depending on the audience reaction. So when the best of these films work really well, what you're seeing is an audience reaction that was honed back in the 1920s. And
so, have you learned anything while you've been putting this together? Because it sounds like you knew a lot about it already.
Yes, I did. I mean, it was one of those things, really. You just knew that. I always knew that sort of the best of these films, shown, as I say, in the right circumstances, people will love them, and they're surprised at how funny they are. I mean, tonight, I think this audience, half the audience have been to see the sort of thing before, the other half hadn't. But by the end of the evening, you'll get the feeling that, particularly the last film, Safety Last, where Harold Lloyd's climbing up the side of this building, people shout things out, they gasp, they get really wound up with it, because it's also the fact that you have live music playing as well. So with a normal film, with a sound film, it's always fixed. The soundtrack is always fixed, the image is always fixed. With this, the musical element is different. So sometimes a film can be slightly more wistful, it can be more energetic, it can be more exciting, it can be more nostalgic, it can be anything the musicians put upon it, which means that in the end the film is not a fixed thing, it's a living thing.
And just final question, how would you describe the setup that you've got at Leeds Film Festival, how they've kind of displayed it for you?
Well, I mean, it's been absolutely wonderful. They sort of said, would you like to come along and do a silent film night? And I said, yes, because when I was like 12, 13, 14 years old, I'm of an age now, when I was that sort of age, people were listening to David Bowie. They weren't interested in Harold Lloyd, my school friend. So when I come along and do something like this, it makes me realise that I wasn't that far, I wasn't that eccentric when I was a boy. That's the idea anyway. I was probably deeply eccentric, but yeah.
That's excellent. Thank you very much for that.
That was great.
Okay.
Well done.
Thank you.